What's happening, Blades? Welcome back to the Blades Ramble. What's been happening tonight? What going off? Wow, another newsworthy day for us Blades. I'm just going to start off by saying hello to people because we've got a few in already. Kipper says, has Traore got his visa yet? And Jack thankfully answers him saying, yeah, he's flying over tonight, I think. How does Jack know that? Jack knows that because tonight Hecky's been on Football 11 or Sport 11, whatever it's known as in summer, with Adam Oxley. He's had loads to say, and we'll get into that in a minute. I'll just say hello to a few more. Hey up, Jimmy. Hey up, Wayne. Do you think Hecky chucked Prince under the bus a bit tonight? We'll get into that, mate. We'll get into that. Stephen Holmes, welcome. New Rambler. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, much appreciated. Chirac. Evening, Jimmy. You level with Shaw and View. Now then, Blades put a poll up for best YouTube channel, which, you know, isn't really what we go for. As long as you're enjoying the content of every channel. Thank you, mate. I appreciate the compliment, but for us, it's not a competition. It's just about providing good content, isn't it? But one day I'll be number one. I'm only kidding. Steve says, what's gone on? We're going to get into it, pal. He's been on Football 11. Evening all. Good evening, Rich. Any news on Traore's visa? Yeah, Kipper, as Jack was saying earlier, Hecky's updated as saying Traore's on his way over. He should be here tonight. They'll get him settled tomorrow, and he'll be training with squad on Thursday, which is great. So hopefully he plays a part against Stuttgart. But he's been out of action for a month, hasn't he? So, yeah, Rich just saying to Steve, he's been on Radio Sheffield, due in Sheffield tonight. What have I missed? Has Hecky gone? No, Pixie, don't worry, mate. Evening, Jimmy, like caught you live at the start. Yeah, welcome, mate. Welcome. You're more than welcome. I know you're jesting, obviously, about Hecky going, but what a credit he is to our club, by the way. I seen Nick's just tweeted that out, and he's absolutely bang on. Michael J. Needham, one of our Ramblers, also said, give him a 5-year contract. Listen, it's not the most glamorous managerial name we'll get, but I think he's done nothing but good for this football club and settling the ship and things like that. But we'll get into it, as I say. Hey, fellow Ramblers, says Mr. Vancouver. How's it going, pal? Nice of you to join us. Jimmy will explain it all, I assume. Well, we're going to go through it, mate. I don't know about explaining it because obviously I've no direct access to Hecky. So everything he said was, you know, new to me, if not news. It was new to me. So Pixie's missed that. Evening to Mr. Vancouver. Everybody saying hello to each other. That's very nice of you all. Evening, Jake. Sportsman, good evening, Ramblers. Shed a tear listening to Illiman read his letter goodbye to Blades fans. Yeah, we're on, well, I saw it on Twitter, but I assume it's on any platform that United are on. There were a little video, weren't there, about a 60-second video where he's pretty much reading the words that we'll all have seen in his sort of goodbye message over the top of some music and highlights. It's a sad day, isn't it? We've lost what I consider the best player I've ever seen at United, but there are silver linings to all of this. Hello, David. Good evening. Hi, Jimmy. Says, Wayne, the actor show reel. Oh, very nice. If anybody's interested in hiring actors, then give Wayne a shout. Have a look. Austin Trusty, thereabouts. Good sign. I agree, Jordan. Really good signing. Really good. Increasingly worried about the first 2 games, not having all the signings in the midfield. As am I, L-Dog. I am very worried about how we are in terms of squad depth at the moment. I'm not worried in terms of should all the plans come off. I think we'll be not better for it. That's, you know what I mean? We're always going to be worse off without Illiman, but I think if the money's spent where we want to spend it, I think we'll give ourselves a really good shout of giving it a really good go this season. But at the moment, we're well behind. And Hecky said as much, didn't he? Evening, Craig. Miss Kelly. Thank you, pal. Hey up, Jake. Yeah, looking forward to it, mate. Yeah, we're going to go through it all. We'll get into it, mate. Don't you worry. Hiya, Dean. What a rubbish few days of Twitter. Yes, tell me about it. Listen, I ain't got anywhere near the stick that Nick, Hal and Darren have got. And there may be a bit more for Darren to come, obviously, due to what Hecky's been saying, which is unfortunate. But it's coming. As in, like, we'll get into it. Evening, Daz. And evening to all the Blades, he says. Hey up, Danny. Am I going to Stuttgart game? I'm not. I'm not going to Stuttgart, which I'm a bit disappointed about, but wife is on the lash, and it's pre-planned. And I'll tell you something else in terms of my poor planning. I'm a season ticket holder, but we're away for City at home. Can you believe that? We're on holiday. Absolute nightmare. Evening, Neil. He was interesting, yeah. Yeah, I do. I do think it were interesting. I don't think he said anything groundbreaking. There were a couple of bits of news that I weren't aware of. I didn't know about Traore. I think majority of us were in the same boat. And I've got my notes here to go through so we don't miss anything. Hiya, Mark, up the blades. Evening, Kev. Onwards and upwards. Let's get behind them. Absolutely, pal. Let's get behind them. Spot on. Thank you, Pixie. Nice super chat. I don't get many of them, and nobody's obligated to do that, but thank you. Really appreciate that. Everything people contribute, ramblers, super chats, super thanks that I got the other day from Scott. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, it all goes back into the channel. It's not a money-making channel. It's just to try and get us a little bit bigger, really. We're at something like 49% in terms of those that watch the videos. 49% of them aren't subscribed. So if you're on here now, and I know it's nobody commenting because you can't come on it on this screen if you're not a subscriber, but yeah, if you're not subscribed, please do, or at least for those that do, and if you enjoy the content, spread the word. 5K before Christmas Day we're going for. Party on, Ramblers. Party on, Garth. Nice one, Fozzie. Mantowag's only blade has arrived. Don't get it, Frank. Sorry, mate. Don't get it, pal. Evening Blade, says Jack with a little kiss. Thanks, Jack. Thought Hecky was harsh on Darren. As did I. Right. So obviously comments are going to keep coming in. So let's just get into this now. What's Hecky said? Most of you will listen to it, but now let's talk about it. Let's see what people think. So the main headlines are obviously Illiman. He wishes Illiman well. He confirmed what we've been saying and what Darren's saying and what the club are saying. It was Illiman's choice. It was not about the money. The club offered him a very good deal, and he turned it down. Last minute, change of heart. We now know that that's been confirmed. Obviously, we said here it was true. It's now been confirmed in almost every outlet. The club did all they could to keep him. Hecky said he's sacrificed some personal goals in terms of like professional goals in order to make the move, in his opinion, to go and live out his dream and play for Marseille. Basically, what he's saying is, you're never going to win Ballon d'Or, pal, playing in league. And he's right. He's right. I think he's made this decision fully with his heart. He's not really thought about his career, which, you weigh it up. What would you do? I think we'd go to United in Champions League. I certainly would, even if it meant turning down Man City, where I'm going to win European Cup every year. So I get it. And I personally don't blame him. I don't think it's been done intentionally to mess us around. And I wish him well. He's done nothing but good for this club. I also understand the other side of the opinion where it's like, well, he's led us down garden path. He's led us believe that he's going to sign, and then he's moved goalposts on us at last minute. And it's too far down line now for us to get people on board in time for Palace and all that sort of thing. And I understand that too. So let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are. He confirmed that all the money is going back into the club, which is great. He's had confirmation from Prince Abdullah about that, which again, we'd already said would happen on the Ramble, which, we'll get to him thinking about other people talking about news and things. What he did say was, which were disappointing but expected, the atmosphere wasn't great when he went into training today. Players were down, staff were down, but he were up, trying to project a positive image. It's not a surprise to anyone. It's going to happen, innit? You lose your best player. They're probably thinking he's our best chance of keeping us up. It's down to the club now, and ultimately Hecky as well, to bring in the players that give us a lot more confidence. Because one thing he did say is, we're a long way off at the minute in terms of having a squad to compete. So we've lost 8 players. We've only brought 3 in. The 8 players he's talking about are long-term injuries, RND and Brewster. Brewster's back in training, which is positive news. Reece is still a while off. We lost Billy and Ender, and I think that was the right decision. I think all of us would agree, or the majority would. I'd have lost Fleck and Ozzy as well, for me, personally. And the 4 loans went back. So Tommy and McAtee being main 2. Clark and I can't remember the other loan. Well, anyway, so we've lost 8 players. We've only brought Benny, Slimani, and Larouci in. Larouci, listen, it's early days, but I haven't really seen it yet. Slimani, I really like. Benny Traore, as we've already said, but for those joining us on the stream, he's on his way into the country tonight. Should land tonight, and they're getting him set up tomorrow and settled, and then he'll be training with the team on Thursday. Ollie Mack's back running again, which might not be good news for everybody, but I think it's positive. We're very light up front at the minute. Fit forwards are probably Jebo and Asula. It's not enough, is it? It's not enough. You were asked about Tommy Doyle, which I thought were a very straight back question. You know, what any chances of getting Tommy back? And he's sort of, in Hecky's usual way, professional and sort of guarded. He said we took him on loan after a couple of not sticky loan spells, but he didn't really flourish. I'd dispute that, really. I thought he was very good at Cardiff. But did a really good job with him, which I agree. I think we made him a better player, and he made himself a better player. But he said once you have those sort of successes, the other side of the loan is they become more difficult to get back, even though we've been promoted. So I think you were leaning against Tommy Doyle personally, but maybe we're looking too much into that. He confirmed in a very rare Hecky move, he confirmed that we're in for Austin Trusty, the left centre-back from Arsenal, who was Birmingham's player of the season last season. Now, this lad, I really like him. Really like him. It's a £5 million deal. As far as I'm aware, the contract is going to be 4 years plus one in our favour. He's 24, 25. So it's a great deal for us. Really good, this, because he's got a lot of pace and he's strong. I just think it's ideal for what we want. I'm not saying he's going to be at the same level as Anel, who were playing championship football last season, obviously, but player of the season and a young player bringing the age down. It's a huge, huge upgrade on Jack Robinson. And listen, Jack Robinson had a good season last year and he cut out a lot of the mistakes, but this game is about levels and there's no bigger gap than the Premier League to the Championship. So even if you considered Jack Robinson an above-average Championship player last season, or even a very, very good Championship player, I'd still be concerned about him in a Premier League side. So I'm over the moon with the Trusty signing. I think it solves our long-term problem with this left centre-back. I would also be comfortable with Reece Norrington-Davies playing there, but I think now that Trusty's here, I think RND, once fit, becomes our first choice left wing back, and that is our back five sorted. Really happy with that. Really happy. What else did we? Then we get to the highlighted comment. I called in. I can't remember who it was. Alex, I think it was. It weren't a pointed question. I didn't think it was fishing for to get Darren in bother or anything like that. And he named him. He said, "There's a bloke on Twitter that confirms or denies reports about what's going in and out of the club. He's called Darren Smith and blah, blah, blah." So, and Hecky's basically said, which is not a surprise because I'd expect this to be his stance on it. He's not a fan of it. It shouldn't happen, but it does. And he would hope that it doesn't affect our transfer business going forward. Now, obviously, I've got a lot to say on this, and I'll get into your comments before I start rambling on. But I can see Hecky's point, and I'm sure Darren can. But I've got a lot to say on it as well. But I'll see what you guys think. I think there's probably a bit of danger now that Darren gets even more stick, which I think is absolutely outrageous, by the way, what some abuse he's had to put up with today. And to be honest, ever since, like Sarbs and Matt Fitzpatrick commented, and I know I'm not saying their tweets were designed to cause any harm, because I don't think they were. I think they were just strong opinions against what Darren and Sheffield United wear, and to a lesser extent, probably what I do. But it's unfortunately, it's the ripple effects that their actions have. They're very influential people, and certainly wasn't done with any ill intent, I'm sure. But the abuse, and I think everybody would agree on this, is completely unacceptable. And just to round off, he said he'd love to work with Billy again. because they were asked if he misses his presence around the training ground, and yes, he does. He does, and who wouldn't really? A leader of Billy's stature. He talked about Asula and Jebison, saying at the minute they're going nowhere. Well, I'd say the same if I had 3 fit strikers at club or 2 fit strikers. You know, they've earned their way to jostle for a first team spot, but they've got to take it now. How many opportunities do they and other young players want? And I thought that were very telling, and I think it's fair. I think it's fair comment. And the last thing I'm going to read word for word, because I think it's come from Bladesman, who's summarised it for us, like he does everything. Does a great job of aggregating all news. And I just think it's really important that we take this on board as a fan base. He said, on the fans, they're going to be needed. Bramall Lane's got to be big. Teams who come up and survive and overachieve, the fans are always involved in that. Regardless of what's gone off, forget about it when it comes to Palace. It can't be any clearer. Yes, it's not been the ideal build-up, but we need to unite together as a fan base. If we're not together, then we're a step behind already, aren't we? We cannot let the place get toxic. We know now, everybody knows, this was not the Prince's fault. This was not the club's fault. This was not Hecky's choice to sell. It was the players' call. Every outlet, every position, other than Illiman himself, has confirmed this. So what is there to be toxic about? I think the main gripe at the minute is that Darren Smith releases news, and Sheffield United away, and Ramble, to a lesser degree, as I said, releases news. Well, is that something to get really upset about at this sort of time? I'm sure, because we've just sold our best player. Any news on any replacements, people will be scrambling for it. But we'll get into it. We'll get into it. So back to your comments. David Vinter makes Tilliman's letter. Can you enlighten us? He's basically said, David, that usual farewell message, really. He'll always be a Blade. He's loved his time with us. He sings that song around his house on his own. It were a nice farewell. I'm not saying it weren't sincere. I'm sure it was. It just hurts to read stuff like that at a minute, doesn't it? And I'd recommend that after the stream, you go to one of online sites, either website or Twitter or wherever it might be, because club have released a letter with him, video, with him reading it, essentially. I was not a fan of the appointment, says Lee. Welcome to the Ramblers Club, by the way, pal. Thank you very much. It didn't go unnoticed. In fact, let me just see if I can do that. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Knew it. Lost my place. But anyway, sorry. Lee says, I was not a fan of the appointment of Hecky when it happened, seeing it as just the cheap option. How wrong was I? He's been superb for us. Me too. Forgive me, father. Not my father, but I definitely was in this boat. I thought it was the cheap option. I was worried. He'd not pulled up any trees in the managerial circuit, really, but he has been so astute. And sometimes a club and a manager just fit. And I think that's what we've got here. I'm really happy with the setup at the minute. What are your thoughts on changing formation, says Aaron? I think we'll have to, mate. If we get the targets that we want, I don't think it'll be drastic changes. I think it'll be a tweak. We're still going to have the main back three, the 2 wing backs. I think we'll have 2 sitting. And obviously, just to go into a few names that are already out there now, it's rumoured that we're in for Vinny Souza. Souza, I think he's called. I should know because I've really seen his name that much over the last couple of days. He would sit probably. Maybe he sits. It's maybe like a bit of a diamond. I don't like to think of it as that, really. But Souza sits, Slimani and Berger. Then maybe Tillman, who we've been linked with. And 2 up top, whether that's Ollie Mack and Traore or another body that's coming in. Anyway, there's loads of rumoured names in there, but I think it's going to be a very slight tweak rather than a major tweak, if you like. So, sorry, I've said 2 up top, and there's only going to be 1 up top if we play with that 4 in middle. So, it'd be Ollie Mack, maybe even 2 10s. Maybe Slimani goes further forward and sits just off. There's loads of different. Until we get the bodies in, we won't really be able to predict a formation, I don't think, pal. But with current targets, I think that's how we do it. So glad it's all over, says Danny. The illy liar gone. Move forward and prove him wrong to leave. Only thing I'm looking forward to is some dopey club activating that sell-on clause. Yeah, we've got a 20% sell-on for Illiman, and we will no doubt be rewarded for that later on in his career. I'm absolutely sure of it. Not keen on the green fence. Needs to be red and white. At the back, I have no say, mate. I have no say. That Senegalese lad up top, was he even any good? Never seen him play. Yeah, don't know what you mean. Hecky was right. We move on. There's no point lusting over a lass you'll never see again. We've all done it, though, haven't we, pal? Wish you well, says Dan, on his new adventure. Absolutely, we do. Tazzy Taz, Hecky was class tonight. Come across very well. He always is. I think he carries himself superbly. He's a leader, isn't he? He's quite understated, but he's a leader. I like him a lot now. I'm all. I said it turned me or something last time. You know what I'm saying when I say that. Hi, Susan, another one of our ramblers. Thank you for your support. Just got out of bed after the Illiman news. Thanks for being upset with us. Listen, we're grieving together, aren't we? What time was Football 11 on? It was 6 while 7, Alan, but you can get it on catch up after the Ramble. No, you can get it on BBC Sounds anytime. And that's where I've done it because I've been out with my daughter playing football. Needs 6 players in ASAP, says Happy Acres allotment. Yeah, probably about right. Go to the City game, then drive up for holidays. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to Spain in car that easily. And it's like halfway through, but I'm gutted we're missing it. Gutted. You going on Saturday? Need to get used to playing European football. Yeah, we do, Pixie. We do. Completely in the dark about Hecky's interview. Please tell me everything he said. Hopefully that's done it for you, Mr. Vancouver. Hopefully that's done it for you, pal. Marseille were under a transfer ban, I think, until 21st of July. Do you think that influenced Illiman? I didn't know anything about that, to be honest. They are doing some real, I won't say dodgy work, because I don't know anything about the financial makeup, but we'd heard for a long time that they were skint. And now they're bringing in Aubameyang, Illiman, loads of players who will be on a shed load of money. Gutted, matey, but we've been there before, and the show must go on. Correct, Kev? Correct, the show does go on. 5K before Christmas Day. Come on, those that aren't subscribed, tell your friends, tell your grands, tell everybody. We are up in the female subscribers. I think we've gone from 1% to 3%. So thank you, Hope, for your work on the shorts. Hope will be back very soon. I know people have been asking. She's had a terrible week, bless her. She was going to do some content for us last week, but I won't go into her personal information. But it's not been a great week for her, and she's going to be back this week at some stage, hopefully. Hecky didn't seem that keen on Doyle coming back. He didn't, Mark, but I'm not exclusively revealing anything because we've talked about this. But we have got other targets in mind who we think are better. Like, if we're bringing in Sousa, do we need Doyle? So, okay, it's difficult because we all know Tommy and we know he fits into the squad. So if we end up with Tommy Doyle, I'd be more than happy. But if Sousa's going to be a different type of player, but a better caliber, that's Hecky's choice, isn't it? He's the gaffer, and we've all just said we trust him. Darren only says what the Prince tells him, as far as I know, so talk to him about it, not Darren. Yeah, not Darren. Darren does say what the Prince tells him in terms of the Prince feeds him information. Darren then has his own filter, essentially, on what he knows he can and can't say. Unless he's told specifically not to say anything, then he's happy to share it in the right environment. What he won't do is spoil a transfer or leak news first. He'll confirm things as and when they're ready to be confirmed. But if you carefully check, Darren's never been the one to say we're linked with X. He'll either confirm or deny it if somebody else has already reported it. But he will never be the one, as far as I'm aware, and I don't need to speak for Darren. He can defend himself, but I do think it's been outrageous, some of the stick that Darren's got recently. It's a Red Indian name. All right, Frank. Fair dues. Means Cave of the Great Spirit. I'll take your word for it, pal. Listen as a... Okay. Won't hear of him again. You're not a fan, Al. I assume you mean a Villiman. Chirac doing me a good one. Hit the like button. I don't know how many. I don't know how I can see it. How many likes we've got here, but yeah, it all helps in terms of spreading the word about the channel, and obviously we're trying to grow as best we can. We have got big things coming. We've got the Prince coming on in January, which I think is an unbelievable coup, really. For I didn't know he watched the Ramble, but apparently he does. So evening, Prince, if you're here. I think now dealing is done on Illiman. Come the January window, Sander will be off. So we get the new owner by then. They'll have some work to do. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Sander goes. I think there's interest in Sander. I think the danger is that he will probably go last minute if he's going to go. So we need to be ready to push the button on another deal. The other thing is, the other side of the coin, he's not being interested in talking about his contract, but we are still pursuing it. We're still going to go back to him. The offer that we're going to put to him is very good. Very good. And I think he's got a decision to make then, because ball will still be in his court. Also sounds like Hecky confirmed Doyle won't. Yeah, we talked about that one, Scotty, old boy. Lee, Illy's gone. We move on. Club's still here. Fans still here. Players come and go. We just have to get behind the lads that want to be here. Absolutely right. Cadra was the other loan. Thank you, Lee. Thank you. Yes, I couldn't remember for the life of me. What a shame that was, by the way, Rita Cadra. It just didn't work, did it, for some reason? Some will say Hecky didn't give him a fair go. Others will say he didn't fit into the system. I know Andy the Blade were a big fan of his. I thought he looked quite poor in some of his performances, and so I can understand why he weren't as involved, but we know what he can do, and that's why it was a bit frustrating for me, really. As a sports-oriented person, we can't give Illy a hard time. We've got money for him. Let the lad live his dream and be bloody proud that the Blades provided building blocks for his future. Great that. Yeah, absolutely. Illy's gone, we move on. I think you've posted that already, Lee. Did nobody ask if Cameron Archer is a target? Cameron, not in this interview. Cameron Archer ain't available. Trust me, I've been banging the drum, both on screen and off, and he's not available. If he was available, then we might have a sniff, but he's not. He's going to stay with Villa for their European campaign, I think. Maybe in January if they're out, but I'd love Cameron Archer. Competition for places is key. Just getting a solid 2 choices for every. Well, that's the ideal, isn't it, Aqua? That is the absolute where you want to be, but the quality's got to be there. For me, at the minute, at left wing back, for example, we've got Max Lowe and Larouci. Larouci hasn't even shown enough for me that he starts above Max Lowe, and we all know what I think about Max. And that's not me being, I don't like sort of coming on and criticising openly, but I think in the Premier League, you need to have a certain quality, a level of quality, and I just don't think that left-hand side's got it. Trusty will be a big help to that. Joel says Hecky was spot on about Darren. Don't get that people are complaining about it. It would not be. Don't get what people are complaining about. It would not be helpful. Someone reporting every little thing. I get it, Joel. I get the manager not being happy because obviously Hecky's always been a closed shop, and it's served us quite well. But the other side to that is, for example, if Darren hadn't have confirmed the Illiman rumour on Twitter saying that unfortunately this is true, or however he started his tweet, we would still, until today, we would still be in the dark as to what were happening. So we'd have Fabrizio Romano tweeting and saying, oh, Illiman to Marseille is on, it's definitely happening, blah, blah, blah. And we know he's been back and forth. And then all of a sudden, we could have had videos released online of him in Marseille airport with no communication from the club because a deal hadn't been done at that point. So the club can't. Well, they can, but it's not good form, is it, to sort of talk about that sort of stuff that when a deal hadn't even been completed. So can you imagine hearing all these reports that your best player's going, not having any idea of what's going on, nothing from the club, nothing from local media, to be fair, as far as I'm aware. And I'm not calling them out because they do a great job, but this is certainly not against them. And I know that's sort of been the rhetoric a little bit, but it's not. And then next we see is in airport in Marseille. People will clamour for the news that Darren provides, and whether that makes it right in terms of the long-term interest, maybe not. But if we don't feel the club are communicating properly as a fan base as a whole, because that's generally the feeling that I get from people, if we can provide a little bit of news and ultimately reassurance, then surely that benefits everybody. Maybe not in terms of getting the targets over the line, but if we know that we've got like a trusty coming in, it makes us a little bit calmer, a bit lit. You know, we're not out in car park with his shoes off, are we? Like some used to be. Alex the caller threw Darren under the bus. Maybe Scott, maybe he didn't have to name him. I didn't think that were fair, but you know, I don't think it were done intentionally. I think he was trying to be specific, really, in terms of people. A lot of people are starting to know who Darren is. He's following. He blames me for his following growing because since he came on the channel, it's bumped up. But I'm not taking the fall for that. He gets his following because he's good at what he does, and people are interested in what he has to say. Robbo and Ozzy had moments where they struggled against Derby, let alone Prem competition. I think they're both good enough for squad depth, though. Fair enough, Billy. Listen, mate, this is all about opinions. I'm not right just because I've got a different opinion to that. I don't think they're good enough. I'm all right with Robinson as a backup left centre-back. I don't know why Ozzy's in. I think Ozzy's in because we panicked and he can play in about 4 different positions, but not up to Premier League standard, in my book. So, horses for courses, mate. Need a new keeper, mate? Yes, we do. I think Wes needs a challenge plus no decent backup. Absolutely right. We need a new number 1 for me. This is a place of honesty, but respect. I like Wes. I think he deserves his chance in terms of the work that he's put in. But if you look at his stats, he was a very average, middle-of-the-road championship goalkeeper last time. We had a good defensive record, but that's because we've got John Egan and Anel. And Jack Robinson, to be fair, last season, who did very well later on. Agree, Adam Davis is too far off. He is. Yesterday, I didn't expect to wake up and see a golfer and an ex-footballer and an accountant all arguing about Sheffield United. No, funny old thing supporting our club, innit? Hi, Stu. Welcome to the stream, pal. We're Blades. We're Blades. Oh, we are Blades. We are indeed. I'm not going to sing too much. I did that last time, I think, on stream. Still got it about and die, but the badge on the front is always bigger than the name on the back. Absolutely, LA. Absolutely. Lee, regarding Darren, at times he's the only person giving us information regarding moves and happenings at the club. He never names signings before they complete, just gives us numbers of Lee, we're on the same wavelength, us, pal. Welcome to the Ramblers Club. Lack of communication from the club is the issue. It is, Mark, and I think that's more than fair comment. We had nothing about the Dozy takeover and what were happening. We had nothing about the embargo, as far as I'm aware, other than a couple of lines. I mean, we've had nothing about Illiman other than when it's been completed. I think they'll give a reason for that in terms of things not being finalised. But when it's so obvious and the fans know that these sort of things are happening, I think you've got to be fair and communicate that. And they do, but through an alternative method in Darren. I think that's why Darren gets so much clamour for his attention and his answering questions and stuff like that. And obviously, it's picked up a little bit for me and Nick and Hal are getting it as well. So, and I don't mean abuse. I just mean hounded for answers. But yeah, that's the way it's gone, unfortunately. And the club should be better. I think it's fair. It's fair to say that. If anyone should get a dig, it's the Romano guy. He makes a living off it with every club. Yeah, absolutely, he does. Nobody calls him out, do they? Darren has every right to put what he knows on Twitter unless the princes have given him specific, not for public information. He's well within his rights and shouldn't be judged negatively. Absolutely. I mean, the smarmy retort is, if you don't like him, don't follow him, or, you know, come off Twitter or whatever it might be. You're always going to get your detractors. And when you put yourself out there, like I've started to do now, obviously, Nick and Hal are there to be shot at. But I spoke to Nick about this. I think you were even on the Ramble. It shouldn't have to be like that. We know we're going to get stick because you're giving your opinion and people will disagree, but it shouldn't mean it's really negative and abusive. It's just unnecessary, isn't it? Can we not get an email prior to a new video? Oh, bloody hell. Stu, if you can tell me how to do that, mate, I'll do my best. If any tech whizzes are in the chat, then let me know. I'll do whatever I can to let you know it's coming, mate. But this were, as with a lot of my videos, this is reactionary. I genuinely didn't think there'd be much news to come out of the interview tonight. But obviously, there was a little bit. Aqua says, better for actual Blades to control the info than some of the plebs out in the media. Premier League is the Wild West for information. I'd rather have a couple of solid sources that can be trusted. Fair, thank you. And I know some don't agree with that. I agree, but some won't. What do people want the club to communicate to us? They aren't going to confirm something before it's done. Yeah, that's the other side of the coin, isn't it, Joel? I think when things become so loud around, there's a lot of noise around Illiman going. It could be the odd update where appropriate. Things like the embargo, things, we're working hard to get the club out of the embargo, and we understand fans' frustrations or whatever it might be, but it definitely needs working on, does club comms. Seems to be a lot of hate on Twitter against the Prince. Don't see what else he could have been. I think it's shifted from he's not willing to keep our best players or he's selling our best asset to anger at how he communicates information, and he's not being challenged by professional outlets. He'd rather go on the Sheffield United way, who I think some lazy people will say will give him an easy ride. What I would say is, I know for a fact that the Prince will say, ask me absolutely anything. And Nick and Hal have asked for questions. I have no doubt they will ask difficult questions. I don't think it'll be filtered. This is just my opinion. I may be wrong. I don't have to speak for them. But I think we'll all watch whatever you think about it, whichever way you go. And there'll still be some detractors. But I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And the way I want to do it when it comes on in January, if he's agreeable to this, I'd like to do a live with him, if possible. Because I don't want anybody thinking that it's been set up in any way. I don't think we've anything to hide. I think the only thing would be there'd be some caveats with how we can sort of speak. And I'm not going to be reading every comment, particularly those if they're abusive. But I'll certainly challenge on whatever we want. And it might just be a Ramblers questions to him, whatever it is, but we'll see. New Rambler Stephen says, hope we get a striker, a good number 9 in. Yeah, there's a chance of that. There's some in the mix. I can't really. There's loads of names and loads of, if this happens, then we're going to do that, or if this doesn't happen, then we might have to shift this. So there's loads of balls in the air, for want of a better phrase. Twitter's an absolute black hole of negativity. It is, Billy. You're right. Lost brain cells. Reading some. I find Twitter to be the absolute best source of information. I think you get loads of really good, really fast news on Twitter if you know where to go for it. And most of us do now, I think, for those that use the platform a lot. But with that comes a lot of negativity, unfortunately. Jimmy's live, who left now? BNUK.com. Big friend of the channel. Thank you, pal, for joining us tonight. Nige, another Rambler. Are United signing a striker, Jimmy? Anytime soon? Yeah, we're in the mix. We're in the mix for not necessarily an out-and-out striker, but somebody, you wouldn't call Illiman a striker, would you? Somebody that fits that mold between a 10 and a 9, really, I would say, probably. Yeah, those are the sort of ilk that we're looking at. But there's also the possibility a legitimate striker comes in if other things happen as well. So, sorry to be a little bit cloak and dagger, but I don't want to say, no, there's not a striker coming in when there may well be one that comes in later in window. I think these people who have been chucking mud at you, Hal, Darren, and Nick, need to look at themselves. We all love the Blades and want us to do well. Thank you, pal. Yeah, I think that, listen, it's a minority, isn't it? It's an absolute minority. I don't understand it. That's the only thing. I don't get why we turn on each other, and particularly when it's, high-profile figures like Saabs and Matt Fitzpatrick, who, again, I don't believe for a minute that there was any ill intent, because I don't think there was. I think they were disagreeing with how we do things, or certainly how the higher-profile lads do things. But it's just led to it's like opened the door for loads of, why does the Prince talk to you, you effing so and so? And it's all right. Where are we? So there's still a beef at the club, a beef with the club. We could and should have kept Illiman for a year and lost 15 million. Many of us believe that would have been the correct decision. Up the Blades and Slava Ukraine. I don't agree, pal, and I'm not. You're entitled to that opinion, but it's widely known now that he came and said, "Please make this deal happen. I want to go to Marseille. I want to go now." So when somebody does that, how are they going to perform to their best? How are they not going to drop their head? How is it going to look to other players when they say, well, why aren't they letting him go? He's desperate to leave. He's done everything he can to get us promoted. Why can't he go? Other players potentially coming in. Say like Souza, this player that we're after. It's tricky at the moment because we're in advanced negotiations from what I'm hearing, and this is not an official source. This is sort of what I've gathered. We're in advanced negotiations. The sticking point seems to be the relegation clause, which is natural for everybody. If he sees us holding Illiman against his will, listen, player power shouldn't rule, but we've got to be realistic. And he says, well, if they get relegated, then and I have to take a 40% wage cut, and then I get a bid from a La Liga club or whatever it might be, they're not going to let me go. They're going to make me stay on my 40% decrease. So there's other factors than just he's got a contract, make him see it out. Not just the fact that we'd have lost the fee, and it's more than 15 million. With Blades, we are Mr. Justice. We are Blades. Mary Lou, hi everyone. I'm sorry for Illiman as a supporter of Marseille since more than 35 years. I wish you the best this season. Thank you. Welcome. You have got an absolute superstar on your hands, and I wish him, and by proxy you, even though I'm jealous and gutted that you've got him, I want him to do loads of great things. He is an absolute superstar. So thank you for joining us, and fair play and congratulations for getting best player I've ever seen in a Blades shirt. Giving Blades abuse is poor for player comments, which will come out in the media and Sky anyway. Thank you, Michael. Agreed, pal. It is poor. We shouldn't be turning on each other. It's going to be tough enough this season as it is. Huge fan of Slimani, says Mr. V. Believe he's going to be a star in this team. Between him and Sander, I'm confident in our midfield. But as far as up front goes, I'm shaking in my boots. Yeah, we're very light up front. Very light. Evening bids. Thank you, pal. Steve says, oh, we're getting a good defensive midfielder and real ugly, dirty so-and-so. Well, if it's this Souza, Darren's alluded to it on Twitter, so I'm not sort of spilling things that aren't supposed to be said, but he's going to be our marquee signing, essentially, Souza, if we get him. And he's Hecky's number one target. So let's hope we get him. With those players and the three we've bought, we'll be right. Yeah, absolutely. Agree, Kipper. They're just shooting the messenger. Yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it? Andy S, not me dad. Oh, because I questioned you last time, didn't I, pal? Good luck to Illy. No need for all the abuse. No need. Bring on Palace. Bring on Palace. Yeah. Can we push it back a couple of weeks, maybe? Until we're a bit more ready. But yeah, bring on Palace. Why not? Does the loan market include Championship for 2 home loans? Or can you get 2 Prem loans and 2 more loans from Championship? There's plenty of young talent in the Champ. Good question. I think, no, it must be, it's 2 Prem loans. You can't have more than 2 Premier League domestic loans, as far as I'm aware, because you can get as many as you want in Championship, can't you? So I can only assume, and I'd have to check this because I'm not sure, that we could get a couple of loans from Championship, but that'll be really tricky, I think. That'll be really tricky because if anybody's got a real prized asset in Championship, because of the financial state of the Champ at the minute, they'll want to sell them on, won't they? And if not, they'll want to keep them. Ban ended apparently while the team were in Portugal. Just saying, ban ended. Sorry, mate, I've lost track of that. I think the green fence complements the garage door. Well done to your lass. Thank you, pal. Yeah, she thinks the same. And I completely agree with all of her choices ever. Can I get me £2 back? I don't know, in the last stream. No, he's gone. Yes, mate. Yeah, see me in Triple Point at Palace at home. Well, I'll get you a pint. 34, 42 likes. Oh, thank you. Well, it's 384 people here and we've got 42 likes. Unbelievable. As long as you're all subscribed, that's the main thing. I'd rather lose Sander now than on a free. Yes, me too. Me too. I think Sanders, we wouldn't, same with Illiman, but a much lesser degree for me. We wouldn't get the same quality because we wouldn't get his maximum value with his contract situation. But I think he's easier to replace than Illiman. Well, we can't replace Illiman. Seen Dino's Forest deal in jeopardy? Good. That would reunite the Blades, bringing him back. Oh, can you imagine getting Dean Henderson? I always thought with him going to Forest, because it looked likely at one stage that was going to happen, and that obviously kills it dead for us. But if there's another season where he's even if it's not at us, and we survive, I think we've a chance of getting him if we stay up this season and he's not gone anywhere permanently. Can I just say, Jimmy, keep up the good work, says Mark. It's a breath of fresh air, stuff like this. Gives fans closer access to the club. Sick of all the negativity, and you'd think we'd gone bust. Up the Blades. Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate that, mate. We all just love coming on and talking about Blades, don't we? And I think since the Illiman news, it's sort of allowed us all to get together and sort of not mourn him, because I don't want it to be that sort of huge factor of, oh, we've lost this, we've lost that. But it's been a really negative time. And I think coming on and talking about it just sort of eases everybody's concerns a little bit. And if I've contributed to that a little bit, then fantastic. Thank you. If I was Sanders, says Ollie, I'd probably push for a move too. 2 relegations on the CV and all. A relegation and a promotion at the minute, Ollie. So I know what you're saying though, pal. Free Hope, she's not guilty. Yeah, break her out of jail. Roy says, we'll keep an eye on Marseille on TNT Sports. Let's see how Illy fares. I'll be watching him as well. I'll be watching him. Wishing him well. Sander might get the Lundstrom treatment. Can you imagine? He could, he's looked very good pre-season, but opposition haven't been great. He might be a bust. He might get injured. He's very injury prone, isn't he? Has the Prince subscribed? Don't know. Don't know, pal. Don't know. I'll ask. That could be my question, couldn't it? In fact, you can put that question to him. In fact, she'll be a bit cheeky and put some Ramble questions to Prince just to see if they are going to ask a wide selection. I think I'm only joking. Tea? No, I'm a coffee man, to be honest, mate. In my opinion, Chukwuemeka, thank you for making me read that, Lee. And brilliant. Irogbunum at Villa would be worth a look regarding the loan. So 2 Villa lads, really, because Chucker's just gone to Chelsea, hasn't he, for a big fee. Seen them both play several times for the England youth set up. Good players and good athletes. Carney is Carney and Tim. Carney's on the list because he's been talked about previously, hasn't he? He's an option, but probably I'd say he's on the long list. He's not going to be first choice. Tim, I've not heard him mentioned. The name rings a bell now. I've seen the anagram of a name, but I've not seen him mentioned. Ian Oliver, Illy was going to be paid the highest wages in our history if he stayed, which we now don't have to pay him. Add his fee to the saved wages and ensure that frees up. It does. And we have money to spend before that, Ian, as well. So budget is healthy again. But obviously we're a superstar down, aren't we? Is it a risk buying too many unknowns for this league when they'll be playing Championship next year? Depends what your class is unknown. I think the financial situation of the club, although it's improved with Illiman's sale, we've got to be so sensible with money, and we know what the English tax is all about, don't we? We know that buying a player that's played in domestic leagues, Tommy Doyle, for example, listen, he's a bit of a different example because his fee's very reasonable. But say Cameron Archer, if he's quoted at like 25 million, he's a great player, fantastic prospect, looks like he's going to be great, but I don't think he's kicked a ball for more than 90 minutes in Premier League, has he? So how do you get that valuation? Whereas you could go abroad and get somebody like Slimani for 1.5 to 3 million, and look at the performances he's putting in already as a full international, 22-year-old. Looks like he's improved us already. So there's the bargains are to be found overseas. But I get what you're saying. When they're in leagues like Traore's been in the Swedish league, there's a huge gulf between that and the Premier League. How is he going to adapt? How is he going to take to this? He might be a surprise package, but he might bomb. So there's a risk with that as well, isn't there? And I get these concerns, but if we're buying players like Sousa, we're buying somebody that's come from La Liga, a proper league. We're buying, we're looking at players that have played now with this bigger budget. Trusty only played in Championship last season, but what player at season for his club. So I get it, Lee. I get your concern, pal. But I think, one, we've got to do it like that. And 2, I think it's quite smart to do it like this as well. Because if, say, Trusty, for example, worst thing happens, say he's 24-year-old. I don't know if he's 24 or 25, but we get relegated. He stays with us on a reduced wage, and he's got a 4-year contract to run. So it's good business because he's an outstanding Championship player. We know that. let's hope he can make the step up. What Mitch and the team have done so far in the window is brilliant. So I have faith we'll spend the money wisely. Yeah, agreed, Ollie. You know, they've not gone far wrong, have they? If at all. Does Hecky know Alex Mowat? Feel he could be... Oh, Paul. No. Alex Mowat, who couldn't get in Borough team. West Brom loaned him out. Not a fan. Who was the best player you scouted during your time as a scout? Well, I never scout. I was never employed by a Premier League club. But I once went to Colchester. I can't remember where I went, to be honest. It's a long time ago. Well, one that my dad always sort of tips his cap to me about is Mark Duffy. Mark Duffy were playing for Scunthorpe, and I recommended him to Rotherham, and they didn't want to buy him when they were in Championship. And I also recommended Danny Ings. So I'd been to a game, watched a player that I didn't rate, but Danny Ings stood out by a mile, and we were preparing a bid for him. And then I went to watch him for a second game, and he got an hat-trick, and then he got moved to Burnley. So, yeah, there's a few, to be fair, and you've caught me up a little bit with that, but I'll be able to think some more examples. I would have thought. There's some busts as well, like there always is, but was he at Leeds with him? Not know him. With Moa, I don't know, pal. Don't know. Yeah, probably were at Leeds with Moa, actually. From a fan's perspective, I love it, but can 100% understand from Hecky. You mean sharing info, Joel? Yeah, absolutely, pal. I agree. Does anyone know if we have a sell on or not? 20%, pal. 20%. Show me the money, and we will benefit massively from that. He's not going to go for less. He might have a couple of seasons in Marseille, and at 25, he might get a move to somebody like Juventus if he, struts his stuff on Champions League stage. He's not going to go for less than 50 million, is he? We could be talking 80 million, and we're getting 20% of that. Do the maths, because I can't. 50 million, we get 10. 100 million, we get 20. Yeah, I'm a mathematician. What's the price we've got for him? It's undisclosed, pal. I do have an idea, but it's a lot more than what's been reported. It's more than 15 as a flat fee, and also we've then got achievable add-ons on top. So it's a good fee in the circumstances. It's not what he's worth. I think he's worth 30 to 40 million, but the fee that we've got, the add-ons that we will get, and the sell-on is great, and the matching rights as well, which I can go into with people that are interested, but it's not really for what it looks like on tin. All this moaning about people tweeting is ridiculous. Sky reporting all this every night about all top players. News is news, and people want to hear it. Thank you, Ian, my old friend. We'll be clueless without Darren, to which he's presented his comments in the correct manner. It does not impact the day-to-day business of the club. Keep it going, Darren. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. We need to get the Illiman departure now, and look forward to the new season with the players that are staying and the new players coming in. Up the blades. Up the blades indeed, Michael. Brian, another new Rambler. Thank you for supporting the channel. It really does help us. Really appreciate it. Hope I'll give you a value for money. There'll be another Ramblers only stream coming up very shortly. Now I know what I'm doing. Who do the players you mentioned play for? Brian, come on. The players that are widely tipped in the news are Vinny Souza, and I think he were on loan at Espanyol last season, but he plays for a different club. And Malik Tillman, who plays for Bayern Munich. They are the players that are being mentioned and talked about by a lot of parties at the moment. Don't ask me any more intrusive questions like that, though. Lee Pitts, people shouldn't be angry with Darren. Annoying should be with how the club manages. I think that is it, Lee, to be fair. Manages the media and its business. I think that is it. And Darren's ended up getting the brunt of it because he's the one that's providing it. Well, you're going to miss me when I'm gone. I think there's a bit of that in there. If Darren goes on radio silence, then people will not be happy. The vast majority, just because a minority have sort of hounded him out, really. Football gossip has been around for years. The mainstream media don't have a monopoly on it. Correct, they don't at all. Listen, if we get news and we're okay to share it, and we don't feel it's going to jeopardise the club, then we'll share it. There's no doubt. I certainly will. Aussie's nowhere near Prem standard. Absolutely right, mate. I'm all for getting new blood in now. Get spending. Illiman served as well. Absolutely, Josh. That's the best way to look at it, pal. Is Asaba coming on a live show? He's more than welcome, Bids. More than welcome. Look, I haven't got a problem with Sabs. I had a problem with what he said, but I like what he does. I think he was a good player for us. I think he was just way off in turn. And I think he's put himself in a difficult position because he's employed by a club and he's blatantly, the owner doesn't know what he's doing by passing information, or it's not professional, or whatever he said. And I'm not going to harp on about it because I don't think it's fair to do that. It's been said, and whether he meant it that way or not, I'm not sure. But Sabs is always welcome, as is anybody that wants to come on and debate anything that we talk about, because we'll be respectful whether we agree or not, won't we? Personally, I don't think the club have any obligation to tell us anything. It's a business, and what we should do, we should desire is better business practice. Yeah, people will feel like that too. Twitter is like talking to everyone in the pub at the same time when the pubs were full. Absolutely right. Would you consider controversial signings like Mason Greenwood or Mendy? No, neither. Neither, thank you. I think one thing about our club, and listen, we've had misfires in past, Marlon King and players like that, but I don't like these sort of players being associated with our club. I'm not proud of them wearing our shirt. I think, no, not for me. Just a personal opinion, though. The club has chosen this method of communication via a fan platform. When it works, it works. When it doesn't, it's a mess. Yeah, it's a choice of sharing information into it. It's how they want to do it. I'm certainly not complaining. On a past transfer, Ramsdale could be losing his place as number one, which is bad news for us with add-ons and bonus. May not be met. I think we're almost there with Ramsdale. Fees and bonuses and follow-ons, Scott, to be honest. I think it'll be very minimal what we'd be potentially missing out on there. Ring the bell for an email, don't you? Or do you mean like a day, a few hours before? Oh, yeah. So Paul saying to Mr. Vancouver's question earlier, if you want to know when we're going live and stuff, do you tap the notification bell like all these YouTubers say? Tap that notification bell so you never miss a video. Don't know, to be honest. Paul I'm sure will put us right if I'm not telling you the right thing. Let's put that money somewhere and sign Zian Fleming from Millwall and Fabian Ryder from Young Boys. Again, I know Fleming. I know that Burnley were going up to about 15, 16 million to try and get him out. I'm not paying that for Zian Fleming. And Fabian Ryder, I've no idea who he is, pal. Habib Diallo, no, too expensive. Not too expensive. We can afford the transfer fee now, but his wages, I just think, will be outrageous. Is Podolski signing yet? Wow. Maybe if he can still go. Good player in his time, Lucas Podolski. Feeling quite optimistic after Hecky confirmed all of the early money will be reinvested into the squad. Hoping there's some traction to Malik Tillman. Me too, pal. Me too. Going forward, says Dan, I would love to see us develop our own players and stop using loans. We're so good at adding value to other clubs' players, more like Brighton and Brentford for me. Absolutely. I think we've sort of resumed the practice of buying or like prioritizing acquiring our like 16, 17-year-olds and things like that, and even younger. So that's great. And we had to stunt that in the embargo, which were really frustrating. But I love that strategy. And you look at players like Andre Brooks, Louis Marsh, who I love. Obviously, Asula and Jebo have come through that way as well. And Dye came through that way, even though we bought him late from Boreham Wood. But Harrison Neal now, who's stepping up, Harry Boys. These are all Brad like it, Ollie Arblaster. I'm like the David Brent meme now. I know where I'm Didcott, Yately, all that sort of stuff. But Sai Sachdev, they're all quality players. To say we haven't got a Cat 1 academy, you'd never tell, would you? I agree, Dan, but I think they need solid loans now. If they're not going to get into the team, we need to place them properly and get them some experience in EFL. If Prince says no to Alive, big red flag. I don't think he would, but I think it's a bit cheeky to ask. So we'll see. We'll see. It don't have to be anyway, does it? Because I think you'll all know me now that, listen, with the Prince, I think I've always prided myself on being completely transparent. So because he's coming on to the Ramble, which will obviously get a lot of attention for my channel and sort of get more eyes on us and things like that, I want to have a positive relationship with him. Now that may lead to unconscious bias in terms of when I'm talking about him or when I'm defending him. What I want to make very clear is I will not be doing anything consciously to defend him if I don't agree with what he says or what he does. I've given the example already. If this Illiman money isn't spent in the right places or hadn't been given to Hecky for whatever reason, or was halved and given to Hecky, I think it's only right to call him out on it. I'll always be respectful because I certainly don't want to jeopardise January, but I also think he's done a very good job for us. And now I'm falling into the category of I can't really say anything without people thinking, oh, well, you're going to say he's done a good job because he's coming on your channel. But that's not the reason I'm praising him in that regard. So I think he's done a good job for us. I hated what happened with Chris Wilder. I don't know the circumstances. I think Wilder were our greatest manager ever. But the more you hear about it, you think Wilder had a big part to play in that as well. I just wanted to sort of address what hopefully it wasn't an elephant in the room, but I don't want anybody to think that I'll ever be a shill because it's not my style. And I think the success of the channel has been built on me being authentic, and I'll continue with that however I can. I'll just, that's my style. I wouldn't sacrifice my beliefs or how I felt about something for that. So the interview with the Prince might be interesting in that regard if I'm not completely happy with how things have gone. Hope McBurney kicks on again next season. He'll need to kick on a lot, won't he? Because it's a big step up. I fear about him losing his strike partner from last year. They looked good, didn't they, Ruben, at one point? They were really clicking just before World Cup. Hopefully he links up well with the likes of Traore and whoever else comes in. Just stop Ollie Mac. Yes. Those T-shirts are doing really well, actually. I've got mine coming in next day or two. 54 of 384, now 402. Hit the like. But subscribe. That's the main thing. And tell everybody about it. We'll challenge everybody that's on this live now. Tell a friend who isn't subscribed to get subscribed. 5K before Christmas Day. That's the target. I bet the Illiman money's our new budget, not added on top of the budget. Middledale, come on. If we get all the targets that we're aiming for, then you'll see that we'll have spent more than that. It's around 25, 30 mil, I think, that we're looking to spend on the targets currently. Obviously, players drop out and new players come in, so that might fluctuate. No Cyril the Squirrel tonight. No, I think he's in bed. But other pigeons instead. Love it. Go Fufu One says, and dies a symptom of the issue. The club is entering the £1 billion league, yet they're not controlling communication or advanced planning to account for where they'll be in 3, 6, and 12 months' time. I think they are. I think it's maybe we're too late to the party. We're investing in young players. We want to develop players. The squad age is coming right down. But is it the best time to do it at Premier League level? Don't know. But then you can attract the best youngsters, can't you? Prince may have sold up by Jan. Will he still come on? Yes, he will, pal. He said he has. In fact, he was laughing. I met him for the first time this week. And he was laughing, saying it's probably going to be better in a way because he'll be able to talk absolutely 100%. There'll be some stories that he can definitely tell if he's not involved with the club at that stage. But obviously, we'll grill him on whatever it is, that whatever stage we're at. Pirro smashed it for a post-Swansea side last season. Some player, I think. Yeah, but I agree, Josh. I don't think he'd be a bad shout. Again, we talk about the big jump from champ to Prem. And for 15 mil... maybe. We've got the money now, haven't we? We've got the money, so I think we'd want to sort of spread it across the squad because we're all a little bit concerned about squad depth, aren't we? The players asking to leave were never the issue. The problem all along was how you manage the timeline in the negotiations. It's very poor business practice. We handed all the power to the player and agent. I get that, Lee. I get that. We have been offering him contracts for the last 18 months. We couldn't offer him the same level of contract that we've offered now because we weren't confirmed in the Premier League. But we have been trying to negotiate with him. And if you mean way back when we first got him to sign the 3-year deal and it should have been longer, it were a real grind to get him to sign that one. 2 Prem loans and I think 5 Prems from the Championship. Yeah, 7 in total, isn't it, Gaz? But 2 Prem. Do you think Illy was tapped up? He was definitely tapped up, Craig. 100% he was tapped up. But apparently it's legal now. So get off Darren's back. Great channel. Thank you, pal. Jimmy, what's the budget then, including Illy cash? A lot. a lot more than we had. Listen, I can't go into figures, can I? I think that stuff like that, Chirac. And to be honest, completely honest with you, I don't know firm figures. I know rough figures, but even stuff like that, then I would be potentially harming the club's, targets and things like that. If I come out and say, actually, we've got 60 million to spend, well, Arsenal might then say, well, we were going to sell you Trusty for 5. We want 10 now. So it's these sort of things. I'm not going to go into figures, but yeah, it's healthy. 318 chat, Jimmy. Yeah, 394 at the minute. We've lost a few, but I've been going on for a while and I ramble on. Why do outgoing players going a few hours, yet incomings take weeks and weeks? Fair point, Wayne. Yeah, it does seem to drag on, doesn't it? But to be fair, we all know they've been talking to Illiman for a long time. A long time. I'll talk to our shaman, medicine man, and see if we can do it. Kirsten team's looking at Dean. Thanks, much appreciated, Frank. Lost one star boy, but Louis Marsh will be the next one. Watch this space. Absolutely right. Friend of the channel, Rambler, Louis Marsh. Spot on. He's going to the top, that boy. Justin Sousa's 6'2", coupled with Ollie Max, Limani, Sander, Anel, Eags, and Trusty. We're going to be hot from dead balls. Absolutely right. What we have focused on, it's quite subtle, but we're looking at physicality and speed in our signings. Obviously, physicality not really with Traore, but look at some of the targets. Slimani is big, quick. I think it's necessary in Prem, but I think it's quite subtle what Hecky's been doing. Very clever manager. Any update on the takeover? Saw 777 mentioned. We've whittled the 3 down to 2, and we're in the final stages of who's going to win the race, essentially. News very soon, I would have thought, pal. A bit disappointed that Darren seems to have been chucked under the bus all over this year. Certain other journalists have got off scot-free when naming possible players who may be coming in. I don't get it either, Shaz. I don't. It seems like one role for one, doesn't it, really? And that's not those lads who haven't been blamed. That's not their fault either. Let's get them from South America. If we're getting the Undying money added onto the current budget, we should have 30 million to spend. It needs to be spent or we're screwed long term. And I've just said on Saturday, and I know your comment probably came before, but we will have a healthy budget, and the spend is currently looking like it's going to be 25, 30 million on the targets that we're lining up currently. And Nell was a virtual unknown last year, correct? And Jack, he was. 2 full transfers we've brought in, as well as being potentially excellent players, are assets with such long contracts, which with 30-plus Premier League games makes them very good assets, good business. Absolutely right. We are not going to lose what we spent 4.5 million, 5 million on Traore. 20-year-old kid scored bucket loads of goals in that league. Even if he bombs, we'll still get 3 million for him, won't we? So it's a no-brainer, an absolute no-brainer. Agree. Marsh is a big prospect. Absolutely right. He is. A WhatsApp to every Rambler price video would be superb. Yeah, we can set that up. Yeah. Set up a WhatsApp group, Blades Ramble group. Happy to do that. If people want it, let's do that. I'll drop my number in our private chat and we can sort that out. That's no problem. Rob Bennett says, personally, I thought Hecky sounded down, lost his star man, but more importantly, his Lieutenant Billy Sharp. Being asked to work with his hands behind his back wouldn't surprise me if he walked. I thought he sounded a little bit sloughened. I thought, but his best player's just gone. He did say himself that wasn't through no fault of the club. And I know he wanted to keep Billy Sharp. We're all aware of that. There's no way he walks. I'd be absolutely amazed. They're on the same page. And I know it's hard to believe. And he'll always want more as a manager, because you do. But I think he's here for long term. I certainly hope so. Good idea from Steve. Stu's going to send his number in. Thank you. Sorry, I do try and click through every single super chat, every single chat. Sorry, so sometimes we're including little conversations that go off. Illy ends up back at one of the big 6 Prem teams within 3 seasons. Yeah, it won't surprise me. Certainly a top European club. Hopefully, it will be a good payday for us as long as the sell-on clause is not time restricted. No, it's not, pal. It's not. Do we have a clause that could bring Illiman back first refusal? Yes, we've got matching rights, Rich, which means if Chelsea come in for him and bid 30 million, or say 50 million, then we get to match that. But obviously, we're not going to be able to compete with Chelsea unless we had a huge takeover and all that sort of thing. So the clause is there so that clubs can't say, well, it's 50 million, but it's 30 with add-ons. So you can only get 20% of the 30. It's there. So we get the full paperwork, everything to do with the transfer. And if it's a £50 million transfer, we get 20% of that 50. That's why we've done it. So we get everything in writing. Do you think the weather had any effect on Illy's decision? Maybe so. Maybe so. Don't think we'll ever get Dean Henderson. He's on over 100 grand a week with Man United. Yeah, I know. He'd have to take a big cut, wouldn't he? He'd definitely have to take a cut, Paul. It's a bit pie in the sky, I think. You may be right. Kyle says, Sousa looks like a right powerhouse. Could suit the physicality of the Prem too. Good signing, I reckon. Yeah, me too. Top signing. Don't you have a forum for more news and chat? Funny you should ask, Paul, because yes, we do. Over at bladesramble.com, you can access our forum from there. I think Paul's just dropped a chat in about, or a link into the Hecky chat as well. So thank you for that, pal. You do me loads of favours and I really appreciate it. It's good Illy didn't leave on deadline day. Well, I've been up the creek. We've got a month to get some exciting new players in. Yeah, we have. Illyman's lost his legendary status. I think he'll always be remembered as a great player for us, but because he ain't got that longevity, he had one brilliant season, didn't he? And a very good other season. I don't think he's going to be remembered as a legend, just a very, very... I mean, for me, he'll be remembered as best player I've seen. But in terms of a legend, it's difficult, isn't it? Reckon we're bringing a new top striker. Squad lacks goals now. I'd like to see it. I don't know whether it'll be exactly a legit striker, but I think we'll get more goals in team. Yeah, I do. Who do you think will be our star player this season? Well, he's gone, hasn't he? But I think Anel will be good. I'd like us to get Sousa. George Baldock will definitely play up to the level. I love George. I'm interested to see how Sander gets on with a year left. Marseille aren't guaranteed the group stages. No, they're not. No, they're not. But neither would Sheffield United be, and we'd still sign for him, wouldn't we, Stu? So, Norwood, Berger, Slimani isn't a bad midfield three, but we definitely need 2-3 more midfielders before the window closes. I wouldn't be comfortable with Norwood, Mitch, to be honest, mate. I wouldn't be comfortable with Norwood at Premier League level. Is there any chance of a massive surprise signing near the end of the window? I want to see Hecky interviewed out of his car window. Yeah, there is. There's a chance it runs late, to be honest, because we're aware that better deals come available later often. Hamer from Coventry, would love him, Ian. Would love him. I haven't heard the name mentioned, but I think he's a great player. 101 of 401. 406 now. Smashing it on the Ramble. Well, we try, don't we? Listen, I appreciate everybody taking time to come in and just talk rubbish about United with us. It's cathartic, innit? It certainly is for me. So I appreciate everybody jumping on. Agree that Illy should be sold if he doesn't want to sign. Not worth the financial risk. However, the running of the club has to be questioned. Why the embargo and so many key players at the end of the contract? I think that's one for Sheffield United way. Lads, isn't it, on Friday when they're interviewing him on Friday? Obviously, we've got a game on Saturday, so I think it's going to be Sunday by the time Nick's hoping to get it out. Good questions, though, Si. Good questions. Is McBurney good enough, in your opinion? No, if I'm being honest. But ultimately, I think he's the best we've got available at the minute. So that's a big concern for me. I'm not as against him as some people are. I'd love him to come good. I really would, because I think he's a great character to have around the club. I think he's great for morale amongst the lads as well. I really like him, but I think he struggles for consistency. It's more fitness. I think when he's fit and firing, he were at his best pre-World Cup, weren't he? And then he got injured again and didn't really recapture his form. Asula looking better than Jebo pre-season. Completely agree. Completely agree. Need to get Asula and Jebo firing. They have the pace for the Prem. I think if Asula bags a couple of goals, he will fly. Absolutely fly. Endo on loan and McAtee, lone keeper on loan. Keeper and a striker, dreamland. McAtee's not really... I get it though. Yeah, there'd be two very good loans. Very good. Ramblers only stream. Haha, Ramblers only. I hope not being... Oh, yeah. It didn't go well, did it, Craig? But it will. It will this time. YouTube let me down. I don't think Jebo or Asula are anywhere near Premier League players. Agreed. even though we've probably got to keep them unless we sign a striker or two. I think Jebbo we're going to have to keep. Wilder pushed the Prince too far. Yeah, we were in a... Yeah, I'm a big Wilder fan. I'll always be a Wilder fan, but he put us in a tricky spot financially, didn't it? Not him per se, because obviously the club have to sign off on it. Hit the bell and select all to catch all the Blades Ramble stuff live. Spot on. Thank you, pal. That's how you do it then. Never missed a live by hitting the notification bell and selecting all. Bang on. I might catch one myself. Hi, Jimmy. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Sean. Much appreciated, pal. Susan, hello again. Just a thought. I wondered, in the absence of the brilliance of Illiman, will our up-and-coming talent now feel free to express themselves? Absolutely. This opens the door, and I've seen a couple of people comment this previously, opens the door for somebody else to take the reins, doesn't it? It's, what is it? I don't know the saying, but an opportunity where one door closes, another one opens. Is it that sort of thing? I don't understand why we're only after 5 players. I think it's poor from the club. It'd be 8, wouldn't it? And now probably 9 in total if we're replacing Illiman. Because Hecky said already it were 8. We've got 3 in. So there's 5 left. Oh, yeah, you remember it. Yeah. Anyway. Because we need a centre-back, striker, number 10, DM, and then another midfielder on loan. Right centre-back and goalkeeper. I don't think right centre-back particularly, although I wouldn't be overly confident with Bash. It's with worse positions, aren't we, to cover? Sorry, Harold. Seen it all before. I think we're going for brilliance. Predictor strikes again. No, it tends to happen, doesn't it, Susan? Do you know anything about that goalkeeper we were thinking about getting? And do you think that was the reason for it not going ahead? Was it he wanted to move somewhere else, or we just didn't want to pay it? There's still an outside chance we get a goalkeeper. It's not a priority, and it'll depend on what happens with other moving parts, but I'm not writing off as getting a goalkeeper yet. Ages ago, it was mentioned we wanted a double deal for a player, but one ended up somewhere else. Can you mention who that was? I don't know which deal Darren was referring to be honest. I think it was the left centre-back that also then fell through, but I don't know. You'd have to ask Darren on that one. What's happened to the likes of Davis and Maitland-Niles? All gone quiet on several free agents we were linked with earlier. Still in the mix. I asked specifically about these, actually. We've offered them a deal. They've also got other deals on the table. Some from bigger clubs, some from, championship clubs. So the championship clubs can guarantee them starts and sort of essentially becoming the main men. The higher level Premier League clubs can offer them guaranteed more money. We can offer them likely a starting berth in Premier League without being a star on Premier League money. But obviously the detractor for us is the wage reduction on relegation. So they've both, listen, they might come back. Tom Davis isn't top of the list. Maitland-Niles, I would say, is probably higher. And that's just my assumption. That's not definite. But they might both come back to us and say, yeah, we want to sign. And we say, actually, sorry, we've now got Malik Tillman or Souza, whatever he's called. So we'll see, pal. We'll see. But they're still in the mix. Evening, Jimmy. Just tuned in. What have I missed, pal? Oh, mate, so much. We're going an hour and 20 minutes. I'm going to try and wrap it up at some stage, but trying to get through these comments. Yes, thank you, Paul. Much appreciated. Andrew Corrigan, welcome, pal. Thank you so much for joining as a member. Really appreciate it. Welcome to the Ramblers Club. You are more than welcome. Thanks for support. Really appreciated. If we buy a striker at 10 million, then that's obviously taken out of the budget. But apparently it could be a loan to buy, so that money wouldn't have been spent. So the Prince end up keeping that. Prince doesn't end up keeping any of it. It's all in the pot. It's all ready to go. If we don't spend some now, it might be used in January. There might be more money given in January. We might have new owners in January. So Hecky knows what budget he's got to work with. If we don't get a £10 million player, we might choose instead to get another loan player with a fee and higher wages. So it's all in the mix, mate. Any chance on Che Adams? No, I don't think so. Too expensive for what they'd ask for him compared to what we could get elsewhere at value. Looks like Lane's getting a lick of paint. Been saying for years who needs the naming lights on the cop. Though we need the naming lights on the cop. Won't cost too much and look fantastic from Shoreham Street. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, John. Yeah, I like that. Need to change your own page for your website. Yeah, I know. I've got Illiman on there. And to be honest, I've got a new intro that I've done for this, but I forgot. I forgot to put it on, to be honest. And then I was scrambling 2 minutes before I went live thinking, sugar, I need to get it on, but hey ho, there'll be a new one soon. They question the lack of planning foresight. League One Wes, Egan, Bash, Norwood, Flex, Sander, Ollie Mack, Jebbo, all out of contract. Assets that we need to be replacing at the same time. Interesting question, Simon. Out of all those players who will all be a year older, who would you keep? Even if we went down, who would you keep? I'll just give you mine very quickly. I wouldn't keep Wes. I would keep Egan. I wouldn't keep Bash. I wouldn't keep Norwood. I wouldn't keep Fleck. I would keep Sander, but he'll go anyway. Ollie Mack, I'd probably keep in Championship. Jebbo, not sure he's going to be here. So, not many. So even if it's a clear the decks situation, I don't think that's a bad thing because they'll all be on very big money. Michael Cooper from Plymouth, class act, absolutely right. Action location, let's get him. Will Brewster shine? Heart says yes. Head says probably not. We like goals, but they need to be created first. We now lack creativity more than ever, and surely this must be a priority for the recruiting department. Yep, it is. It is. That's definitely on the agenda, pal. Everyone blaming the club for Illiman, the transfer. Why want an unhappy player in the team? But there's a project in the mix. Yeah, that's right. We don't want an unhappy player. We need that creative spark. We do. Those are what the main targets are around, to be honest. I don't think we've seen the best of Brewster. If we can keep him injury free, well, that's a massive if. Spent more time in physio's room than he has on pitch, and let's be right. Just unfortunate. David Brooks will be a gamble, but he's a great player. If David Brooks gets back to David Brooks levels, then Bournemouth won't let him go. I would always, and it's unfortunate, but after an illness so serious, I would always be very sort of wary. Sean, welcome. Thank you. I appreciate everybody's support. All this this support by becoming a Rambler, you'll get exclusive content. We've now started doing our own live streams. The first one was an absolute disaster, but I promise I know how to do it now. It really does support the channel. Everything goes back in, and we just, it helps us create better and probably more content. So thank you, Sean. We need fast, strong, pacey striker. Don't want much, do you, Colin? Don't want much. Where's that 50 million that we need then? I know what you mean though, pal. That's what we do. We do need everybody to want one, don't they? Bit late watching, but what about Zian Fleming? No, not at the price they want, Sean. We've talked about him earlier. Hope Brewster can get back on fire. Not sure. Tim, another recent Rambler. Thank you, pal. Really don't get why people not the Ramble or Sheffield United way or Darren. As fans, we've never had such good communication on all things Blades. Oh, thank you, pal. Thank you. We try, and I just do it because I love it, really. Let's be right. We all do, don't we? Oh, Benny Traore. Do you have any players you'd like to see at the lane this season to sign? I'm a broken record, mate. I am an absolute broken record. The two main ones for me would be Cameron Archer as my absolute priority, who I'll breeze past because I talk about it every time. And I'd like Mike Cooper or Victor Johansson from Rotherham in goal. I think Trusty's a great one that I didn't see coming. I wasn't aware until it were released on Sheffield United way, to be fair, because they'd spoken to Prince direct. At least we're not relying on bad and things could be a lot worse. Correct. Love that comment, Ian. That Malik Tillman looks decent for a replacement for Ndiaye, similar traits. Don't expect, if he comes, don't expect the same level. Two bigger boots to fill, but very good player. Jimmy, if you could spend all the money we have for players, who would be the player you'd sign apart from bringing Illy back? I'd sign Cameron Archer. That's my one goal. I think he's an absolute superstar waiting to happen. Any idea how much the option to buy in the Larouci is? The Larouci deal is around €3 million, I believe, but that's what I've heard. 15 mil, Larouci. Behave yourself, sportsman. Really, you wouldn't keep Wes if we went down? Maybe, but he's going to be 34 then? And I know keepers last longer, but I just think we need to strengthen in goalkeeping department. I'm trying to get a bit quicker with these because I know we're all going to bed soon. There was a player who was at Hull a couple of seasons back. Can't remember his name. He went to Brentford. He's a winger. You mean the double barrel kid? What's his name? Keane Lewis Potter. I'd left Baldock on his backside. I'm not having that. That never happened. No one gets better at George like that. Yeah, Lewis Potter would be a good loan, but he's a Prem loan, and I'm not sure that we'd waste that on a winger, or we'd then be banking on becoming a 10, wouldn't we? Great night, well done. Thank you, Miss Moles. I feel like a misser has been hard done by. Stuck as our third choice keeper when he's meant to be highly rated, isn't he? Yeah, I'm not struck on a misser. He's got all the tools. He's built like a keeper. He looks great, but I'm not convinced he's the one. Gary Medine's still available. Yes, Matt. Yes. Let's go get the legend. Mind the gap, as he would say. Anyone got Didzy's number? Do you know what? He could do a job. And this is ridiculous. I wouldn't condone us going back for him. But the talent that man has got is unreal. He's going to rip that league up, isn't he? 3 million euros for Larouci, says Kyle, confirming my earlier report. Thank you, pal. From what we've seen so far, Larouci's good enough. Is Larouci good enough? No, I don't think so. But we've only seen a small sample size. It takes a while to get used to our system. I'm certainly not writing him off yet. I'm willing him to be good. But come on, R&D, get yourself fit. Lewis Keane Potter. I think it's Keane Lewis Potter, but close, Craig. No. I don't know what that would say. Great channel, Jimmy, says Simon. Thank you, pal. As an overseas blade, appreciate the content. Keep up the great work. Thank you, pal. I really appreciate that. So is Billy. Billy's still available? I wouldn't have thought so, pal. Wouldn't have thought so. Doyle, Archer, and Chair, but don't think we have that sort of finance available. Archer alone would probably swallow up our budget, to be honest, 25 million or so. I'm not saying we've got that particularly, but if that's sort of money, we're not going to spend it on one player. Do you think Brooks and a few of you could shine against lower Prem teams? I think it's a risk in it because the lower Prem teams are the teams we need to be beating. They're going to be 6-pointers. But, and Brody's just asking now, any academy player I think should get a run out. I think Brooks has done more than enough to show that he can step up. It's not going to go down well with fan base if he's classed as one of our midfield options because we want to be bringing players in. But for me, who would you rather see in starting lineup? Andre Brooks or Ben Osborne at left centre midfield, for example, or Andre Brooks or John Fleck? And for me, Brooks obviously wins it. That's why I'm saying it like that. But that then sort of questions why are we renewing their contracts? It baffles me. But listen, I'll back Hecky. I think there's a lot to be said for having old pros in the changing room. We've lost our leader in Billy. We've lost our best player in Illiman. So there's a lot to be said for experienced voices, but you shouldn't be keeping players around just for that. Not for me, anyway. I expect we'll sign another player from Europe to replace Illy. We probably don't know who it is yet. Yeah, we're looking at European targets, Ian. We are, mate. Mbappe's a boy of blade. I hope so. Happy with Trusty, but wouldn't have minded Greaves from Hull. Yes, agreed. I liked Jacob Greaves. Wouldn't mind bringing Slater back as well as cover for midfield. I don't think he'd be quite up to it. I really rate Regan Slater as a good, solid championship midfielder. But again, I think he's one of those that was never quite good enough for us. I don't think he got a fair shake at the Blades, but we'll see. Like Osborne and Norwood, championship at best. Correct, Kyle. Agreed, pal. I'd rather our youngsters go out on loan and get first team. Yeah, I would too. Rather than keep them around for the sake of it to get 5 minutes here or there. I think they need quality minutes in EFL. Loved how Harrison Neal played. Me too, Craig. Me too. When we're talking about Brooks, Fleck, or Aussie for Premier League midfield, I feel devastated. I know. But that's behind Sander and Slimani and hopefully a couple more. Rather than sat on the bench, he'd rather they were out, Jack. Agreed, pal. Where do you think Billy will go now? Rotherham have pulled the plug. Well, there are rumours about Hull, and there's rumours about Derby still, but I can't see him at Derby. He hates Derby, and they don't like him. I always thought somewhere like Barnsley, a team that are going to have a lot of possession, create a lot of chances for him, I think he'd thrive. You know, playing for Rotherham, flirting with bottom at Championship, he's not going to get many chances, and let's be right. I didn't think he looked great at Championship level last season. Love Billy Sharp, absolute club legend. But if he dropped down a level to League One again, I think he could rediscover his form a little bit, particularly for a side that's going to get a lot of chances for him. Heard Haaland's trying to force a move to us. Hope so. Is that Alfie Haaland? Because that's probably most likely. Fleck getting a new deal could be one of the worst decisions we've made in recent history, all just for the experience, but he's always injured. Not good enough anymore. Old and blocking Brooks. Agree. Keep believing Blade, says Stu. Yes. Brooks looks a great prospect, to be fair. Would sooner him play than Osborne, not bashing Aussie mind. Yeah, I like Aussie. It always gives 100%. And as a Blade, that's generally good enough. But I think if we're talking Premier League quality now, then I don't think Aussie's quite there. I think Aussie's a good squad option who can play lots of positions. He is, and I think that's why we've signed him up, for his versatility. But I don't think the quality's there. He'd be perfect for Wrexham. No good there either. This is brilliant. Go play with Idzi at County. Can you imagine? That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? Get them fired up to League One before, pip Wrexham. Don't forget about Koulibaly. You never know. Absolutely, Darren. I do forget about Koulibaly, and I shouldn't, but I do. Have you heard a lad called Antonio Marin? Someone I've followed for a while. 22, Croatian, was linked with Barcelona. Can play anywhere across the front three. Check him out when you get. I will. Antonio Marin. I've not heard of him, Lucky, but I will have a look. At this rate, you play Basham in our midfield against Palace. Would you play Basham in midfield? No. It's either him, Osborne, or Brooks. No, it ain't. It'll be Norwood, Slimani, and Berger, I would have thought, pal. How close is the Sousa deal? We're in advanced negotiations, is the latest update from Darren. So quite soon, but probably not before Palace. So that would tell me, because he's saying only Trusty will be done before Palace, most likely. So we can't be that close. Let's be right. Rotherham outplayed us. Yeah, they did. I think Koulibaly will step. But on that, Craig, I don't put a lot of merit into pre-season results. I have to say that. I think it's all about fitness. I think Koulibaly will step up. I hope so. Absolutely right. There must be something about him, because Milan were in for him, weren't they? We're at 13 million we rejected. That's looking like a bit of a misstep from us, isn't it, now? I'm trying to wrap this up because we're over an hour and a half. I think this is the longest one I've done, but questions keep coming in, so we'll just finish off now. Aussie's basically our James Milner, a good lad that covers well. I wish he had talent of James Milner. Who would be an ideal replacement for Hecky if he left? Chris Wilder? I'll just throw that one in there. Love Chris Wilder. Did brilliant. That'll obviously divide opinion. Think Aussie played well at Derby. What's going on with the Tunisian lad Hassan Ayari? He's gone, I think, Steve. I'm pretty sure he's gone. And if he hasn't, he's well on way out. He had a trial at Wednesday last season because, his attitude's not great, apparently. And that's only speculation. As I say, I've not heard that direct. It was embarrassing what he did to our George, and he defo left him sat down. Not having it, Michael. Not having it. Do we think Fleck will be anywhere near the first team this season? It's a big shout if not. No, I don't think he will. I think he'll get a couple of minutes off bench here and there. Probably a little bit like when we saw him last season when we're in front, which probably won't be a lot in Prem, but when we're trying to protect something, I think Fleck will play. Maitland-Niles will be a steal on a free, even if we get Sousa and 2 Prem midfielders on loan. He can cover wing back as well. I love Ainsley Maitland-Niles as a signing for us for free. I think he'd do really well. 392 comments incoming. I know. As long as we don't get Ollie Burke back, I'll be happy. What were Ollie Burke all about? Ridiculous. Yeah, Wilder's coming back as well. Yeah, that'd be great. Brilliant again, Jimmy. Thank you for doing the channel for us. Thank you for supporting us, Susan. I really appreciate it. And thank you for everybody jumping on tonight. I do appreciate it. Will people take Greenwood on loan? No. I've already answered that, Hyder, but I appreciate you always come late, don't you, pal? It's past your bedtime, Jimmy. It is. Yeah, I'll be going to bed soon. I'm not feeling 100%, to be honest, at the moment. So I'll wrap up now. But cheers for this tonight, fella. Up the blades. That's what we do it for, isn't it, Chris? Thank you, pal. But no need to thank me. I come on and I vent and I get all my sort of frustration out, or let's talk about Hecky's interview or whatever it might be. Best thing you can do if you aren't already for me is to subscribe and or just spread the word and get us bigger. And, I've got big plans for the channel and I want us to continue to grow, but everything will continue to be poured back into the channel. I love it. And I appreciate the interaction with all of you. I've got to know some great people, even though I've not met all the Ramblers. I feel like I know a lot of you now. So it's great. Jimmy, please sort of WhatsApp chat out for the Ramblers. Way to go, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree, Stu. I'll sort that out. No problem. Ayari's gone. It was another Ravel. Yeah, good comparison, to be fair. 120-1 for us to break Derby's record. There's no danger that we'll get anywhere near that record. I think we'll be competitive this season. I genuinely do. We've got a squad full of grit and determination. Maybe not the same quality as we'd like at the minute, but we'll be tough to beat. How many current transfer rumours do you know which are true? Mate, we're trying to wrap up here. I would back a lot of what you're seeing at the minute. I think, yeah, we're not far off. The reports are pretty accurate from what I've heard as well. Regardless of, sorry, mate, I didn't get that first bit. Did we get a buyback on Didsy? I hope so. Thanks, Ian. Cheers, pal. Yes, always late. YouTube notifications don't work properly. Oh, well, we'll have to sort some out, won't we? Can't see the garage or fence anymore. You don't have Ramble in Jimmy Lad. You don't half Ramble on. Yeah, mate. There's a reason we call it this, isn't there? Dave says, another one on the WhatsApp group. Are you new, Dave? Thank you for joining us, mate. I didn't see a notification come up to say you're a new Rambler, but oh yes, you are. You joined recently, didn't you? Are you on my list here, or one of the latest ones? Anyway, thank you. Your support is very much appreciated. Oh my goodness, I'm getting more and more. Get Tillman in for less than the 20 million from Ndiaye, and I think it's golden. I think it's a great signing, but we're not quite there yet, are we? Get him over the line first, and then we can get excited. Have to change your channel name to channel. Oh, have you got a channel? Right, I'll check that out, pal. I didn't realise you did a bit of YouTube yourself. I'll have a look. Cheers, Rich. Up the blades. Cheers, Jim. Thanks, Lee. Good to have you on board, pal. Night, Frank. Tea's ready. Get some rest. Tea's ready at bloody 9:30. It'll sit on your stomach all night. Cheers, Sean. Thanks for joining us, mate. Very much appreciated. Subscriptions must be on the rise. That worktop looks remarkable. Looks marble. It's not. It's bloody. It's not. It's wood. Cheers, everybody. I'm going to wrap up now. Thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight. Really appreciated. Things are okay, Things are going to be all right. We've got has Lingard got a club? No, we won't sign Lingard. Bloody hell. His wages will be like, and I don't think his desire's there, is it? No, lots of things coming on the Ramble. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. I'm sure a lot of you are, but for those of you that aren't, it makes a huge difference to us, and we're wanting to grow. That's why we set these sort of targets. But yeah, it's much appreciated. I'll be back very soon. No doubt. I've been coming on loads recently, and so get that notification bell on so you know when I'm coming up randomly, because that's what we tend to do, just react to what's happening, don't we? So thanks again for your contributions tonight, everybody. I'll speak to you all soon. Come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades.